damn it. What is going on? Golden Debate Show, earlymorningmob.com. Like, comment, share, and download. It's early time. This is just a side note, nothing special. It's the other show later on that's really significant. If there is one. Cool. Stay golden. earlymorningmob.com. Golden Show.
The golden debate show. Yeah, the golden debate show.
Stay golden. Stay true.
We're gonna talk about this, talk about the golden debate show. Yeah, the golden debate show. Golden debate show. We're gonna talk about this, talk about
Get that mac and cheese. Everybody deserves their mac and cheese.
So I have a lot of important stuff to get into that we're going to get into next show, but I had some clips that really didn't fit, plus some reviewing, so I figured we'd do a little side. Golden Debate Show and the Golden Show, earlymorningmob.com. Come and share and download.
In the early 1930s, it transported Nazi spies into the U.S., and then their promotional ads.
They're having trouble getting the gold. It's being bought so quick.
American citizens who would go back on Hamburg American lines and proselytize for Hitler. 8 months after the U.S. had entered the war, the New York Herald Tribune ran a front-page article, Hitler's Angel has $3 million in U.S. bank. And it caused a major scandal and just rocked the world of politics. Brown Brothers Harriman, which George Herbert Walker and Prescott Bush were affiliated with and partners
Get
in.
That mac and cheese, everybody.
Worked with I.G. Farben, which operated Auschwitz.
I'm just trying to wake you up,
Prescott
everybody.
Bush
I'm trying to wake you
did a
up.
number of things that were not only anti-American, but were pro-Hitler, and he did all that he could to proselytize for Hitler and the rise of his Third Reich, because
they're having trouble getting the gold. It's being bought so quick.
Of his patron, W. Averill Harriman, dictated what kind of behavior he would practice.
Well, that ain't got it. That don't make no sense to me, everybody.
Career.
Golden.
So he was put on the board of directors of Union Banking Corporation, and he was also a shareholder in Union Banking Corporation, along with E. Roland Harriman. But what's interesting about what the documents show is that they clearly state that all of the shareholders were phantom shareholders for Fitz-Thiessen and did his bidding directly. So the point I'm making is it's not as if they bought these shares of stock as a passive investment to hopefully profit from the war. They were directly doing the bidding of the individual who built the Nazi war machine. Some very shocking documents that I saw at the Library of Congress 2 weeks ago on August 10th. On August 9th, excuse me, had to do with the hearings of the McCormick-Dickstein Committee of November 1934, show that Prescott Bush and the DuPont family, the Remington family, and J.P. Morgan tried to overthrow the U.S. government, assassinate FDR, and put a Hitler-style fascist state in place. I have in my possession testimony from the McCormick-Dickstein Committee in November of 1934 by one of the fascist plotters that they were going to follow Hitler's model exactly and impose martial law on the United States, round up unemployed people that were worthless to the economy and troublemakers and Jews and put them into internment camps.
Let's get these hits and likes up.
If necessary,
let's do it.
To exterminate the people that could not be part of the effort. The only reason they hired the wrong general to lead it, General Smedley Butler, the great Marine hero, two-time Congressional Medal of Honor winner, who worked with the plotters just long enough to be able to identify who they were and then blew the whistle on them to Congress. Incredibly, after being warned by the FBI and the Justice Department and the Treasury Department to cease and desist in their Nazi dealings, they had continued them until 1951. there had been 28 additional seizures of Nazi assets and Nazi business fronts between late 1942 and 1951, and that they had moved Nazi assets into Switzerland, Brazil, Argentina, and Panama, and they had continued to do business with their primary Nazi patron, who was Fritz Thyssen, who backed Hitler beginning in 1921 and who was the wealthiest man in Germany, and a steel and coal baron who, with his partner Friedrich Flick, essentially built the Nazi war machine along with I.G. Farben. In 1951, when Fritz Thyssen died in Argentina, Union Banking Corporation was liquidated by the U.S. government, and Prescott Bush received $1.5 million.
They're having trouble getting the gold. It's being bought so quick.
That was the beginning of the Bush family fortune for all intents and purposes. George Bush doesn't take his philosophical foundation from the Bible or the teachings of Jesus in the
Get that mac and cheese.
George
Everybody
Bush takes his
deserves their
inspiration
mac
from
and
what he learned in
cheese.
Skull and Bones and from the Thule Society that Hitler and Goebbels and Goring cut their teeth in, Bohemian Grove, these evil organizations that perpetrate the ugly things that these criminals are doing.
Well, we know how these vampires get down pretty much. So I'm going to let this clip play a little longer, and then I'm going to get
into
some more
In the summer of 2000, a brave young documentary filmmaker named Alex Jones infiltrated the Bohemian Grove and shot actual footage via hidden camera of the Moloch ritual that we'll present later. But first, let's hear what Tex Mars,
Get that mac
a
and
professor,
cheese. Everybody
Air Force veteran,
deserves their mac and
pastor,
cheese.
has to say about this footage.
But behind all of these groups, there is a small cadre or elite, a core. And what you have done, I think, with the Bohemian Grove is you have exposed one of the premier organizations of the whole New World Order arrangement, you might say. Of course, we can go back in history.
Peter Joseph,
all the way
the
back
popular
to
producer
Egypt,
of the
Babylon,
communist and
Greece,
Illuminati propaganda
Rome.
pieces,
and
known
I think you're going to see sort of the roots of the
is back
Bohemian
after
Grove.
teaming up with Ozzy Osbourne.
They're having trouble getting the gold. It's being bought so
Down there, let's just wake you up.
God is
There's other guys that they look like, I don't know.
Over there, people, let's do a golden universe. Let's try to live better. Open minds, not empty
World
ones.
Order, Antichrist.
They're having trouble getting the gold. It's being bought so quick.
Zeitgeist, the movie, and it's following sequels and love the film, particularly because of its anti-Christian,
but particularly in the
propaganda
Illuminati
message,
era,
of
originating during the French Revolutionary days.
Easily
you know, there we had the actual order of the Illuminati.
If people were to actually just look at other information. But the message was swallowed hook, line, and sinker, particularly because it mixed in anti-Christian propaganda with 9/11 truth and some information about the Federal Reserve, a cleverly crafted piece of propaganda. I'll point out to you here that...
Well, the problems are getting bigger. They say that Congress isn't doing a job because they're broke, but it's the whole system that's broke. We're financial.
Here at the very end, the solution for this system, according to this film, is that people shed their religion. You see, here's a Jew pulling off his yarmulke, throwing it to the ground. Here's a Muslim shedding his religion.
Get that mac and cheese. Everybody deserves their mac and cheese.
Dropping it to the ground as the earth then unites in one big ball of Illuminati light. Yes, the bizarre propaganda piece proposes such idiotic solutions that it can only be seen as Illuminati communist propaganda. And of course, so it's good that he would team up with Ozzy Osbourne, another demonic dirtbag, Aleister Crowley fan.
Get that mac and cheese. Everybody deserves their mac and cheese.
It's the whole system that's broke. We're financial.
Bit the head off of a dove, really launching his career in the rock scene. Being invited to the White House after his popular show, The Osbournes on MTV, one of the top-rated shows of the network, really. So then he gets invited to the White House to get the presidential stamp of approval. Back when George Bush was president, President Bush gave him a shout-out from the podium. That's good. We want somebody like that, a brain-damaged drug addict who can't even speak a sentence without stuttering. And we'd bring him to the White House.
I'm just trying to wake you up.
Black Hawk choppers soaring in the night sky, but this is only a drill.
Show or the Osborne family. Is that there is
Black Hawk choppers soaring in the night sky, but this is only
a
drill.
Launching an attack on Iran without congressional approval, that would have been an impeachable offense. Do you want to review that comment you made? Well, how do you stand on that now?
Yes, I do. I want to stand by that comment I made. The reason I made the comment was as a warning. The reason I don't say those things lightly, Chris. You've known me for a long time. I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee for 17 years, or its ranking member. I teach separation of powers and constitutional law. This is something I know. So I got together and brought a group of constitutional scholars together to write a piece that I'm going to deliver to the whole United States Senate, pointing out the president
Joey knows that
has
shit,
no
son. You
constitutional authority
Joey, man. He'll rip you
to
up.
take
Come
this
on,
nation to war against a country of 70 million people, unless we're attacked or unless there is proof that we are about to be attacked. And if he does, I would move to impeach him. The House obviously needs an effort to impeach him. The reason for my doing that, I don't say it lightly. I don't say it lightly.
Time has come for America.
Now let's get to a real important clip. The other day was Martin Luther King Day, and well, it was the anniversary of the speech, I Have a Dream, but this is a way more important speech, and it was how he stood up against the Vietnam War.
That the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who in a period of moral crisis
catacombs. This other guy, what they look
maintain
like,
their
I don't
neutrality.
know. This don't make no sense to everybody.
There comes a time when silence is betrayal. The truth of these words is beyond doubt. But the mission to which they call us is a most difficult one. Even when pressed by the demands of inner truth, men do not easily assume the task of opposing their government's policy, especially in time of war. Nor does the human spirit move without great difficulty against all the apathy of conformist thought within one's own bosom. There has never been such a monumental dissent during a war by the American people. Polls reveal that almost 15 million Americans explicitly oppose the war in Vietnam. Additional millions cannot bring themselves around to support it. This reveals that millions have chosen to move beyond the prophesying of smooth patriotism.
I'm just trying to wake you up, everybody.
Grounds of firm dissent, based upon the mandates of conscience and the reading of history. Now, of course, one of the difficulties in speaking out today grows out of the fact that there are those who are
Golden Debate Show. Let's debate for the truth and the knowledge. I'm stammering and stammering. That's why I'm keeping my mouth closed. This is good stuff.
It's a dark day in our nation when high-level authorities will seek to use every method to silence dissent. Something is happening and people are not going to be silent. The truth must be told. And I say that those who are seeking to make it appear that anyone who opposes the war in Vietnam is a fool or a traitor or an enemy of our soul.
I was in charge. I was the Ministry of Defense coordinator. My job was to man, train, and equip
who has taken a stand against the best
Al-Anbar, Najaf, Karbala, and the provinces.
Tradition.
And I can tell you right now, well, somebody had the great idea to get rid of the Iraqi army, so when we rebuilt it, we did everything we could to make it as strong as possible. And I'll tell you right now, Homeland Security would kick their butts in a week. What's happening here is we're building a domestic military because it's unlawful or unconstitutional to use American troops on American soil. So what we're doing is we're building a military. My best friend, who's a SWAT officer in Nashua, who came to Iraq with me to train the Iraqi police, sent me an email with a picture of him in the media on the streets of Watertown, Mass, wearing the exact same combat gear that we had in Iraq, only it was a different color. And the way we do things in the military is called task organization. You take a command and then you attach units to it in order to accomplish the mission. So what's happening is Homeland Security is pre-staging gear equipment consistent. What they're trying to do is use standardized vehicles, standardized equipment. I saw a picture in the Boston Globe during the marathon bombing where there was a state police officer. Actually, there were two officers. They both had identical helmets, flak jackets, weapons, everything I wore in Iraq, only it was all blue. The officer on one side had a big patch on his back that said Massachusetts State Police. Another officer next to him, his patch said Boston Police. And so what we're doing here, and that's not a kid, we're building a domestic army and we're shrinking the military.
Subconscious mind, gain frequency, flag, universal durag, smoking a new jag, woke something deep, pull another crisis caper, rock a unk, suede fans via satellite, the ISIS papers, solid carbons, now there's the bars, ours and sergeants, apartment artists, we broke on when our cigars
and his peeps, let's get it in, go to the debate show.
Mega gas, liquids and solid stages of consciousness, I'm a kin with murder the disagreeables, four devils and flee to Jade's temple, the world in my palms is so achievable. It's going down like Clark Spellman and Morris Brown. And once the tour is popping, Lord, I'm buying more houses
sky, but this is only a drill.
Four accountants sitting lotus by the fountain. Fiery eyes, majesty's magic mountain. Back to the projects, I'm getting stouting. Keep mouthing, I beat the weed about you. Adidas feeler rockin', we the watchmen. Believe the doctrines, D-boy rap. Act like you see the monster. Build and destroy, kick backs and be about here. And you can catch us online if you don't see us out there.
Running the Abbey, me and my goons, bedrock heavy, moonlight
heavy,
choppers
soaring to the night sky, but this is only a drill.
Digging your purse, rocking the perm like Big Worm, I spit that sherm. Blunts burn as Bentley's turn, watching this bitch earn. I learned the game at a young age. Monster drag a bitch face to get a big face. Switch rates in each state, cause the paper fluctuates. Gucci Locust and stupid cake, Gucci boosters and rally apes. I'm from the valley of grapes, where killers really bully the weight. The thoughts be self-scientific, knowledge of laws on the chase infinite. Panther print,
no, not Alex Jones. Russell Brand. Sometimes they get it in though, so let's listen to
the Middle East that Wesley Clark exposed the 7 nations they wanted to target. What is your view on Syria, and are you optimistic and excited that the UK Parliament, for the first time in 200 years, did the right thing on war?
I certainly agree with you that that vote is as a result of widespread disillusionment with the political process. I think that obviously the Middle East is one of the most complex.
I'm just trying to wake you up, everybody. Get that mac and cheese. I'm trying to wake you up.
Contemporary world affairs and has been for millennia. What I believe is that our focus has to be the humanitarian aspects, the displaced refugees and the hundreds of thousands that are suffering as a result of military conflict in that area. What I also believe, Alex, is that these affairs are conducted behind a veil of disingenuity and duplicity. It's very difficult for any of us to understand what's truly happening. I've not read that book you said, that 7 Nations thing, but essentially my experience tells me that whatever they are telling me, I intuitively don't trust. It's typically about the interests of big business and government and how they align with one another. So that's what I'm going to assume until I hear otherwise. Like the claims for going into Iraq and Afghanistan were duplicitous, and so the starting point I have is going to be not to trust any.
I'm just trying to wake you up, everybody.
Black Hawk choppers soaring through the night sky, but this is only a drill.
It's extremely complex, that there are many factions fighting there. There's no clear goodies and baddies situation.
Absolutely. Ron Paul recently came out and said he basically thinks it's a false flag. There's evidence that the al-Qaeda groups staged the chemical attack, but it is obviously an incredibly complex situation.
I went through the Pentagon 10 days after 9/11. An officer from the Joint Staff called me into his office and he said, I want you to know, he said, sir, we're going to attack Iraq.
Yeah.
this just in. Vampire assholes
but
control
this
the
is
world.
only a drill.
On the screen, a photograph of a street corner, 11th Avenue and West 26th Street in New York City. It's not very far from here. And there is what appears to be a street sign that basically says, "Attention, authorized drone strike zone, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m." This is obviously some sort of a joke, but people take this in
Down
piss.
to our last two. Connecticut, please join us and select a group.
That's everybody. They're trying to wake you up.
Hey, Connecticut, go ahead.
Judge number 7, Mo Rocca. Your question, please.
Miss Connecticut, the Supreme Court ruled that criminal suspects can be subjected to a police DNA test after arrest. Do you agree or disagree with this, and why or why not?
I would agree with this. I think that if somebody's being prosecuted and has committed a crime that's that severe, that they should have a DNA test. I think there are so many crimes going on in this world that if that's one step closer to figuring out who has done it, I think we should absolutely do so.
You know your neighbor.
Thank you.
Keep an eye on him. A stranger taking a shortcut through the backyard next door might have broken into your neighbor's home. Report him. Report him.
A strange car parked illegally might be loaded with stolen goods waiting to make a getaway. Report it. Report it.
That loud fight next door might be the start of a violent crime. Report it. Report it.
If you see a prowler at night, don't frighten him away by turning on a light.
But it will also
Report
require
it.
resources. Remember, by helping us apprehend a criminal, you make sure that you're not
I know
his
that
next
foreign aid is one of the least popular expenditures that there is. That's true for Democrats and Republicans. I've seen the polling. Even though it amounts to less than 1% of the federal budget. In fact, a lot of folks think it's 25% if you ask people on the streets.
God!
Less than
Down at
1%.
one of those
Still
catacombs.
wildly unpopular.
There's other guys
But
that they
foreign
look like.
assistance
I don't
cannot
know.
be viewed as charity.
Everybody.
It is fundamental to our national security. And it's fundamental to any sensible long-term strategy to battle extremism. Moreover, foreign assistance is a tiny fraction of what we spend fighting wars that our assistance might ultimately prevent.
Program with a special bulletin. America is now under martial law. All constitutional rights have been suspended. Stay in your home. Do not attempt to contact loved ones, insurance agents, or attorneys. Shut up. Do not attempt to think or depression may occur. Stay in your home. Curfew is at 7 p.m. sharp after work. Anyone caught outside the gates of their subdivision sectors after curfew will be shot. Remain calm.
I'm just trying to wake you up and
protect the public safety. And I'm co-founder of the Free Flow Information Act. That was the first time it was introduced and am now to protect the freedom of the press. Can you talk about your views on how law enforcement should balance one of our nation's most cherished rights, that's freedom of the press, and the investigations of classified information leaks?
They can balance, law enforcement can balance it most importantly by keeping front of mind both of those values. Right? There are secrets we must keep, and so we have to investigate their loss, and that may lead to bumping into the media. But when we do those bumps, we have to understand essential to what a remarkable country this is that aggressive, sometimes pain in the neck press. They're a great pain in the neck. And so an enforcer has to keep both of those front of mind, and then in each case try to work it so you preserve both of those values. You're going to make mistakes, but if you keep both front of mind,
but this is only a drill.
So it's no different than it was. And I would simply say that providing a propaganda platform for Mr. Snowden runs counter to the Russian government's previous declarations of Russia's neutrality, and that they have no control over its presence in the airport. It's also incompatible with Russian assurances that they do not want That's going to wake you up. But having said that, our position also remains that we don't.
I can't trust any. I mean, all these political politicians just seem like actors. I mean, I call DC Hollywood for ugly people.
Operated the camera. So, like the camera, zoom in, zoom out, make sure that everyone can see a good picture, make sure it's in focus. Guide the laser, shoot the spot tracker.
How clear are the resolution? How clear are these images?
It's pretty clear, depending on like atmospherics and how
Black Hawk choppers soaring through the night sky, but this is only a drill.
And we're like, okay, these guys are obviously bad guys, you know? The guy in the back hears the sonic boom when it reaches him, and he runs forward. We were actually told to get the two guys in front, worry about the guy in the back later. Follows the guy in the back runs forward between the two, and we strike all three of them. And the guy that was running forward, when the smoke clears, there's a crater there, he's missing his right leg, and I watched this guy bleed out. And it's clear enough that I watch him, he's grabbing his leg and he's rolling. Like I can almost see the agony on this guy's face. And eventually, this guy becomes the same color as the ground that he bled upon. And
so he loses his heat.
I'm just trying to wake you up about it. It looks like, I don't know.
You know how people say that drone strikes are like mortar attacks, artillery.
Black Hawk choppers soaring through the night sky, but this is only a drill.
It's really more intimate for us because we see
plane.
everything.
Some have gone to nearby cities to wait it out.
And so I watched this guy.
But as I say, tomorrow morning is when we will have an update on the assessment of that team. Terrorism has been ruled out by the FBI, which is an important thing to add because after 9/11 questions are immediately raised as to whether or not there's some link to terrorism. We do not believe that to be the case. Various theories are being put forward.
Communication between
a really interesting example from my work just on this topic fest
as you know, because we've talked about it quite a bit in here.
A group of
the
environmentalists that were facing multiple life
the United States, I should say, officials have been
in like
touch with a broad range of countries over the course of the last 10 days.
And they were refusing
and we
to
haven't,
take any plea
I haven't
a handful of these
listed those
activists
countries,
were, including Daniel McGowan from New York. And the defense attorneys filed a motion for any NSA surveillance that was used. This was at really the peak of all the Bush administration.
Well, you are correct that the president has been meeting regularly with the situation. You are also
it's the only way you can really
correct,
get at
as I said yesterday,
that country, which we
have not made
discovered that isn't so hot. So I would say they are a blessing.
Events in Egypt.
They bring all sorts of ethical and moral.
Now to an unwelcome surprise for millions of Americans this new year. Double-digit increases in some places.
I have two words for you: predators.
The obvious threat to most members of the
love you. Like, comment, share, and download.
This station and hundreds of other radio and TV stations throughout this part of the country are moving their resources through any emergency network hookup to keep you informed of all developments on television.
The ghost and the darkness will come.
Thanks for listening to The Golden Show. All thoughts and opinions are solely that of the host, guests, and sources, and is only to keep free thought alive. Golden Show, early morning mob.
Now get out there and whoop Obama's behind. Whooping with the Constitution. Whooping with the Constitution.
Golden Debate Show. We got this. We're talking hood. Draw no line. MC better talk with big chat. No.
Making absolutely certain that all the safeguards are being properly observed. Now, having said all that, you'll remember when I made that speech a couple of weeks ago.
Civilians were targeted. U.S. soldiers went house to house and took them out and shot them. They shot families crossing the river.
I specifically said that one of the things that we're going to have to discuss and debate
there were
is how are we striking this balance between the need to